Today's version of divorce news that you can use. With me today is a good friend of mine, Mary Elias. Mary Elias is a divorce financial planner, and she is also the head of the forensic accounting department of the well-known accounting firm of Devine, Blaylock and Solari here in West Palm Beach. Mary's been acting as a forensic financial professional in divorce cases for over 10 years. And today we're talking about alimony and some of the impacts on alimony of the recent changes in the federal tax law. Now, usually when someone says tax, I start yawning and may fall asleep within 5 minutes. But folks, you need to listen carefully.
Correct.
And as I understand what the federal law says and what you've told me, a divorce in which their alimony has been declared to be deductible are fine. Their grandfather did. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The danger people are facing are those people who are undergoing or in a divorce right now, or those people who are planning a divorce to start sometime this year. And what's their risk factor? Those people who have a divorce going on right now or planning to start a divorce this year.
If their divorce is finalized by December 31st of this year, they are grandfathered based on the old tax rules. Starting if it's finalized and final judgment after January 1st, on or after January 1st of 2019, they will no longer be able to deduct alimony for tax purposes. So there's no longer a tax saving for the payor.
Okay, let's get into that in a moment, but I think what is important here is as of December 31st, or rather January 1 of 2019, January 1 of next year, people whose divorces are pending or have not, and when I say pending, I mean their divorce has not been rendered into a final judgment, or they have not had a ruling by a judge saying the divorce is finalized, in the state of Florida will lose the deductibility of alimony. Okay, so everyone will say, well, what's the big deal of that? Can you give us a couple of examples, Mary, of how that's really going to impact people if they lose that alimony deductibility?
I'm going to give you an example of either a husband or wife that makes $250,000 a year in income, and he or she is going to pay $10,000 a month in alimony. At a tax rate of 20%, that's $2,000.
Every dollar you pay for alimony, you get to deduct against your income.
That's correct.
So in your example, how much alimony is the individual paying?
It comes up to, instead of paying $10,000, you're actually paying $8,000 a month.
And that's because they're getting a $2,000 tax savings because they're not getting taxed on $2,000 of the $10,000 that they're deducting.
That's correct.
Now, this might be confusing to people, but I think if you just remember, there's the deductibility here of $2,000. Now, $2,000 a month for someone who's making $10,000, can afford to pay alimony of $10,000 a month. Okay, that doesn't seem to be all that bad. But what's really the savings for that person over time?
$2,000 a month comes out to $24,000 a year, and over 10 years, that's $240,000.
And
that is a nice big number.
$250,000, and then if this was a long-term payment of alimony, let's say it went to 20 years, we're talking then
$480,000.
So I don't know about you all, but if someone was going to give me a check for $480,000, I don't think I would say no. This is a huge savings that would be lost to people who did not conclude their divorce in a year. But Mary, tell me this. Not everyone makes so much money that they can afford to pay $10,000 a month in alimony. Can we scale that example down a little bit for people who are, say, more middle class?
So if you're making $75,000 a year in income,
all right,
and you're paying $1,500 a month in alimony, at 20%, you're saving $300 a month.
All right, so you're saving $300 a month in taxes. All right, so that's money you don't have to worry about paying. Right?
That will stay in your pocket.
So $300 a month for a year, that doesn't seem to be a lot of money. So can you do the calculations for our audience to see if there's any real savings here?
$300 a month, that's $3,600 a year. Over 10 years, that's $36,000. That's a substantial amount of money for somebody who earns $75,000 a year.
All right. And so these are substantial savings for the people who would be paying alimony, and that substantial savings is lost with this new law. How does that impact, though, the new law impact people who are receiving alimony or would not be receiving alimony if they lose the deductibility?
The person paying will not be as forthcoming in paying the amount of alimony that the other person needs. They will look at, okay, this is what I have after taxes, and I have to give the other person all this money. The dollar amount is going to be a lot smaller, so it's going to be a lot harder to settle a case when you're looking at less tax savings.
I agree with you. I mean, I've been practicing almost 40 years, and I know no one wants to pay alimony. But if you take away the incentive that deductibility provides people to pay alimony, then it's going to be much more difficult for me as an attorney, and as you probably can confirm from your own experience over 10 years of doing forensic work, to convince the breadwinner of the family to pay more money in alimony, because now instead of in your example where there's $10,000 a month being paid in alimony, if it only costs that person $7,500, I know they're more willing to pay that money. It's more helpful to the spouse, and we can settle more cases. Now what's going to happen is my clients who pay money or are likely to pay alimony are going to be less willing to pay $10,000 a month if it means they have to actually pay the $10,000 because there's no tax savings. So I see the cases being more difficult to settle, and I see more cases not settling and ending up in court, from my perspective.
I totally agree with you. That would be my sense too.
So tell me, we talked about alimony, but I'm sure many people in our audience are saying, okay, that's the impact of alimony, but the other payment that comes up oftentimes in divorce cases, how do you anticipate this is going to deal or have an impact on child support?
Well, the child support is based on the net income of both parties. So if one party is paying alimony, they get to reduce that, and the person receiving his income increases, and then you take the tax effect. If they have to pay more taxes, there's less money available for the child support calculation, and therefore child support will be reduced.
All right, so child support gets reduced if the tax deductibility is taken away?
Correct.
All right, so less child support, less alimony. Again, in Florida, we do child support by calculation. So the amount of child support will change depending upon the changes in how alimony is distributed. In other words, folks, what happens is alimony is considered income. So the recipient's alimony would be on their side of the child support calculation. So, serious stuff. We have alimony, a loss of alimony, which makes the loss of alimony deductibility makes it clearly a risk factor for people receiving it in terms of getting less alimony and also less child support. Mary, can you tell me what your experience is in terms of what you see regarding the congestion in the court system and how that might impact all this issue?
The courts are so overwhelmed with cases that it takes a long time to get a court date to go in front of the judge for a trial. You can request a date, and it could be 3, 6, 9 months out before you can get in front of the judge to have your case heard. And if your case if the judge allows you a day in trial and it doesn't finish, you could be even further out because they have to find another day that's available to finish hearing that case.
I agree it's difficult under our current congestion here, even in Florida, and it varies again from judge to judge and city to city about how long it takes to get a trial once you're in court. But my experience here, at least in Palm Beach County, in Martin County, and Broward County, is that from the beginning to the end of a litigated case without any great complications involved, it takes anywhere from 9 to 12 months or more to conclude the case. How does that jive or compare to your experience?
That you're correct in that. That's about the same experience with me.
So, really, folks, what's happening here is we are now we're filming this in February of 2018. If it takes 9 to 12 or more months to litigate a case to conclusion to a final judgment, people are running out of time in which to file a contested litigated case and have it be completed by the end of the year so that they can retain their deductibility. Mary, would you agree with that?
I do, very much.
So what's a person to do now? Let's say you're thinking about divorce or you're not really quite sure that your marriage is where you want it to be. What do you think should happen here?
There's an alternative to litigate a case. It's called the collaborative movement. And in the collaborative case, you get together, both parties have attorneys representing them, and you have a financial neutral and a neutral facilitator where you negotiate everything in a meeting setting.
Does this happen in court, or this is in private meetings outside of court?
All private meetings, nothing is filed with the courts till it's all settled.
Now, how does that impact in terms of getting your case concluded within this time period, or this deadline, our deadline of December 31st, 2018 that we're facing?
In a collaborative case, I've seen it be concluded within 2 to 3 months.
So there is, folks, in the event that you haven't yet filed your divorce and you find yourself later in the year of 2018, and you don't have the 9 to 12 months or more available to you to resolve your case, Mary, what you're saying that this alternative collaborative divorce is another way you may be able to successfully conclude your case within the proper time period.
Yes.
Now, anyone who's looking at the statute of federal reform may say, well, folks, listen. It says final judgment or separation agreement. As an attorney, I can tell you in the state of Florida, we do not recognize separation agreement. And Mary, will the IRS interpret what a final judgment is by the state law for final judgment, the divorce law of the particular state, or do they have their own regs that talk about
The divorce law of the particular state.
So in Florida, since we do not recognize separation agreements, we must conclude the case with a final judgment by a divorce court. In other words, the divorce judge. Now, Mary, in your experience of 10 years here in Palm Beach County as a forensic expert, we start getting to the end of the year, November or December. What starts happening in terms of available dates for concluding cases or trials?
Very slim to none.
So what's going to happen, folks, is if you wait too late and your attorneys wait too late at the end of the year, the judges are not going to have the time available to set your hearings. So today, folks, I think what our lesson is, or what we're trying to get the message out to you all, is that it's very important. If your marriage may be absolutely solid, but we all know, and you all know, people who have problems in their marriage, who may be contemplating divorce, or may start a divorce. But if you're not aware of this IRS tax issue that's developed, as Mary has so graciously and articulately indicated to us today, if your friends are not aware of that, then they need to have a consultation with a forensic expert such as Mary, or certainly an attorney, a divorce attorney, who is knowledgeable about these issues. So I want to thank Mary for being here today. It was a great session. Mary, if you want to let our audience know how they can get in contact with you if they want to do so.
Thank you very much, Charlie, and thank you very much for having me. I am at Divine Blaylock Martin Solari. Our phone number is 561-686-1110, or via email melias@dbmscpa.com. Thank you very much for listening in, and thank you very much, Charlie.
Mary, thank you for being here. This is Charlie Jamieson again. Thanks you all for listening in. Just as our motto says, if your family is counting on you, then you can count on us to get a great result. We'll see you next time.